As soon as I hit this gong, I want you to work on stillness, silence, no talking, no moving, just breathing deep. Alright, Bang, I want you to come over here and pick a card with your left hand. Turn it over. I'm going to read this meditation, number 22, The Foolish Heart, The Crazy Wisdom of Francis of Assisi. The heart has its own reasons, which the mind cannot understand. The heart has its own dimension of being, which is completely dark for the mind. The heart is higher and deeper than the mind, beyond the reach of it. It looks foolish. Love always looks foolish because love is not utilitarian. Mind is utilitarian. It uses everything for something else. That is the meaning of being utilitarian. Mind is propulsive, end-oriented. It turns everything into a means. And love cannot be turned into a means. That is the problem. Love in itself is the goal. Fools always have a subtle wisdom in them, and the wise always act like fools. In the old days, all great emperors always had one fool in their court. They had many wise men, counselors, ministers, and prime ministers, but always one fool. Why? Because there are things so-called wise men will not be able to understand, that only a foolish man can understand. Because the so-called wise are so foolish that their cunningness and cleverness closes their minds. The fool is simple and was needed because many times the so-called wise would not say something because they were afraid of the emperor. A fool is not afraid of anybody else. He will speak whatsoever the consequences. This is how fools act, simply, without thinking what the result will be. A clever man always thinks first of the result, then he acts. Thought comes first, then action. A foolish man acts. Thought never comes first. Whenever someone realizes the ultimate, he is not like your wise men. He cannot be. He may be like your fools, but he cannot be like your wise men. When St. Francis became enlightened, he used to call himself God's fool. The Pope was a wise man, and when St. Francis went to see him, even the Pope thought this man had gone mad. He was intelligent, calculating, clever. Otherwise, how could he be a Pope? To become a Pope, one has to pass through much politics. To become a Pope, diplomacy is needed. A competitive aggression is needed to put others aside, to use others as ladders and then throw them. It is politics because a Pope is a political head. Religion is secondary, or nothing at all. How can a religious man fight and be aggressive for a pope? They are only politicians. St. Francis came to see the Pope, and the Pope thought this man was a fool. But trees and birds and fishes thought in a different way. When St. Francis went to the river, the fishes would jump in celebration that Francis had come. Thousands witnessed this phenomenon. Millions of fishes would jump simultaneously. The whole river would be lost in jumping fishes. St. Francis had come, and the fishes were happy. And whenever he would go, birds would follow. They would come and sit on his leg, on his body, in his lap. They understood this fool better than the Pope. Even trees that had become dry and were going to die would become green and blossom again if St. Francis came near. These trees understood well that this fool was no ordinary fool. He was God's fool. Ben, do you have any reflection on the card that you drew?
Actually, I got a couple of reflections. Reflection number one is talking about the wise man and the foolish man. In this case, the heart versus the wisdom. I look at it like, could be like a relationship. Could be a nice relationship or abusive relationship. When I say abusive, because a lot of times people that's in love or fall in love, they don't see nothing else, but they just go by their heart. They fall in love with this person, and it could be an abusive relationship, not knowing that this person that they're with is not the right person for them, because they're so blinded by their heart. They're thinking with their heart instead of their brains, because even the wise man can see something looking in from the outside, looking into a relationship, and say, hey man, why are you still with this person when he's abusing you and beating on you, constantly doing all this wickedness? But the person that's in love and go by his heart can't see it. That's why I think that the reflection I get, the other reflection I get out of it is like Jesus Christ. To a lot of people, when they come among the people to show them the way, a lot of high priests thought he was a troublemaker, because he was preaching about God and the love, about love, peace, and forgiveness. And he had a crowd following behind him, like I said, like the preacher, like you said, next to the river, the fishes and the flower rejoiced when he come, because they understood that he wasn't just any fool, any normal fool, but he was a fool from God, just like Jesus Christ was the Son of God, and he came for a reason, and people will follow him because he was preaching love and happiness and forgiveness. When the high priest thought that he was just a rebel, a troublemaker, because they were so in as the wise people, but they couldn't see the beauty in him, because he represents love. And because of that, I think this is the problem we have nowadays, because when somebody is humble and kind and do stuff out of their heart, they will say to you, why are you being so kind and nice to the fellow man when this person is actually doing you wrong? They don't see it. The wise man will look at you and say, you're a foolish man for that. But if you realize that you follow your heart and you become the bigger person and ask for forgiveness, even to keep the peace, the foolish man actually become the wise man, and the wise man become the foolish man, because he can't see the beauty in love. And that's what I get out of that card.
Anybody else have any reflection on the card?
Yeah, with the wise man and Francis of Assisi, or court and foolishness, like I guess the wise man couldn't understand that fools are kind of like adults and children. Like with children, there is no end. It's like how they feel. They'll say good and bad things because that's how they truly feel. But as we get older, as adults, it's like, all right, well, there's so much like, oh, well, I don't want to hurt so-and-so's feelings. It's not about, well, you can't be real with that person anymore, And children can seem foolish, when in actuality we're the foolish ones, because we should be more like children at times.
Right.
At least that's how I'm hearing it. That's how I can relate it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because these children actually tell the truth when they become the foolish one, but they actually the wise one. When they're grown-ups, afraid to speak their mind. That's the
Right.
problem we have nowadays.
We become so, oh, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, or with the end in mind, that we sometimes it becomes hard to just say the truth.
The teaching to me is just pointing at, just remembering, like there's wisdom in places that you might not ordinarily think that there's wisdom. Like we know the powers of the mind, we know the powers of Einstein. People pay thousands of dollars to go to colleges to study from professors, and people learn from doctors and lawyers, but this is all like of the mind. But the fool, children, even like Buddha, when he became enlightened, he just pretty much wandered the streets like homeless. Like, you'll truly gain wisdom when you see like truth within places where other people would normally just discount and they wouldn't even pay attention. So, like, just pay attention to the nature. There's a lot you can learn from animals, and a lot of times animals like do so many things better than humans, and they don't even think anything of it because they don't have an ego. I just saw this clip actually that Jenny shared with me. She shared like this dog that was skateboarding like underneath people's
Yeah, I
legs
saw
and
that
stuff.
video. I
It
saw
was
that.
cute, and then they gave him a Guinness Book of World Record. They gave him like a certificate, and the dog didn't know what's going on. He's just doing what's natural. But it's just like you can see the beauty in animals, and like that cats could hear like far away, and dogs too.
Right.
And like cats have like night vision. They could see in the nighttime, and it's like children have a certain beauty and naturalness to them that an adult will never be able to get back to, unless they become a sage. But like there's so much wisdom out there and truth in the places that you would that normally people wouldn't expect. And if you learn to see that truth within people and your surroundings around you, and you embrace it, then you're gonna see the totality. That even in this martial arts school, like I want to build a school to the point where like there's like a lot of people interested in learning, and then I could be like really strict with with my guidelines and rules to just basically motivate people to reach high levels. But then at the same time, when there's like these rules and regulations, there's going to be people that are foolish that don't want to follow that. But then at the same time, you can see wisdom within that as well. Like it's just, you see both sides. Seriousness, that's like the military and the police, and then like foolishness, where it's like you don't have to be so serious. It's like not that big of a deal. Like a foolish person just is not afraid of death. He's like, whatever, not a big deal. A serious person is afraid of death because he's prepared for it, and he's just like always worried. So the teaching is kind of indicating like, don't be too serious about life. Sometimes just let your guard down, just laugh a little bit. A lot of the teachings of the East, especially when with Osho and Lao Tzu and Buddha, they're teaching you the other side that we're not familiar with here in the West. And when you understand that side, then you're going to have the totality.